It's time for a good old-fashioned motivational speech. I think I'm long overdue on this. Actually, I keep saying this, but like when I started the channel originally years ago, the point of this channel was really, a large part of it was motivational speaking. And somehow I've gotten sidetracked and haven't done enough of that. So this episode is going to be a serious motivational speech, but I don't want it to just be some platitudes or some sort of fluffy motivational speech the way you see a lot on YouTube. This needs to be a serious talk. This needs to be almost an intervention. This is an intervention like for a drug addict. You are the drug addict in this case. We need to have a serious talk about your entire attitude towards life. Because this motivation thing goes very deep. It's a very deep problem within you. Your complacency, your taking of life for granted. And then from that stems your inability to create success and to live the kind of life that you want. Fundamentally, you take life for granted. This problem of motivation really stems from a lack of spiritual connection and reverence for your own life, for the magic of what existence is. You exist. Existence is a miraculous, magical occurrence. You've been gifted with this life, and you don't even appreciate what this life is and what it has to offer you. Because if you did, you would not have any motivation problems. You would be working your ass off every day, waking up early, working on your life, building the kind of life you want, shaping the world, contributing to mankind, being creative, being artistic, improving yourself, ironing out all of your personality flaws and weaknesses and fears and limiting beliefs. Because they would all be obstacles to get you to where your creative vision needs to take you, to become the pinnacle of what you could be. But somewhere along the way, you have become so complacent, largely because of how you're situated in the social matrix. You've become so complacent because everybody around you is just sleepwalking through life in this complacent manner, and you've picked up this habit and this attitude from everybody around you that you socialize with. And you are a social animal, and you take all of your social cues, your life cues and your ideas for what your life could be from those around you, and you're not very creative about that. You're not very original. You're being a herd animal. See, everybody around you also takes the miracle of life for granted. And they're just in it to survive. They're just barely able to survive. They have not undertaken a conscious project to make something amazing out of their life, to honor this gift of life, the miracle of existence. They're not honoring it. They're not conscious of it. They're just surviving like animals. And you have fallen into this complacency because you don't see others around you who are really turning life into an art form, where they are living beyond just survival. Complacency is our biggest problem today. Because life in first world countries has become too easy. It's too easy to survive, actually. The entertainment is too readily available. Video games, TV, the internet, social media, music, comedy. It's way too easy to distract yourself. And you can waste years and decades in these sorts of pursuits that leave you nowhere. Not working towards your vision. Not even having a vision. You see, to be deeply conscious of the gift that your life is, to view it as sacred, to view it as divine, to view it as miraculous. When you're connected to that, then you feel a sense of obligation to honor this miracle and to work on its behalf to make the most of it. Because you're conscious that this opportunity is not going to last forever. It's a very brief window that you have to make something of this life. Now, maybe you'll get more lives in the future, but this particular life, it goes by so fast. And when you're conscious of that, you realize that there's really only one thing to do in life, which is to honor the miracle that life is as much as you can humanly stomach, and to see how far you can take your life. How much of your potential can you actualize? What even is your full potential? This is what makes life worthwhile. This is what makes life meaningful. This is what makes life beautiful and exciting and passionate. It's a full engagement with life. And there's a seriousness that comes with that. You realize that you have a duty to the universe, not just to scrape by, not just to survive, not just to be comfortable, not just to buy a fancy car or to titillate yourself with pleasures and entertainment and material luxuries, but you have a duty beyond all of that. And you take on this duty not as a chore or an obligation, but you take it on with alacrity. It is the greatest honor to work on behalf of the universe, to see what you can make of yourself and how you can contribute to the evolution of the universe. This is the opportunity that has been presented to you. And when you're conscious of this opportunity, you are naturally eager to seize upon it and to take on this challenge willingly. This is what life is about. And that becomes the backbone that gives structure to everything else that's happening in your life. So that your life is not just a grab bag of random events and experiences of pleasure and avoidances of suffering and pain, but that your life has some sort of trajectory. That's what grounds you. That's what then gets you to be serious and to live according to proper principles, which is necessary to be satisfied with life and to be successful in life. You're not living life haphazardly. You're not going to be following the path of least resistance. This is actually the opposite. You're taking on a challenge. There's going to be more difficulty with this life I'm talking about than just skating by on the path of least resistance. And you realize that, but it doesn't matter to you because what matters to you more is honoring your life. Because you really only have two options. You're alive right now. You have this life. Either you're going to honor it and you're going to appreciate how beautiful and amazing life is, reality is, how precious this opportunity is, or you're going to take it for granted. And if you take it for granted, then you're just going to be skating by and just doing the bare minimum to get by. And when you're doing that bare minimum, how can you be motivated? How can you be passionate? How can you be excited? You're not really engaged. Engagement is the key. What is going to make you engaged in life at 100%? Figure that out. It's going to have to be some kind of spiritual connection. It can't just be material stuff. What is it in life you can really believe in? Find that and then do that every single day. And don't make any excuses for why you can't. Oh, but Leo, I don't have enough money, or I'm stuck in this shitty situation with my family, or I'm stuck in some third world country, or capitalism is holding me down, not giving me the opportunity. I don't have enough capital to start on my project, my dream project. I don't have the skills. I don't know what to do. I'm confused. Those are all excuses. That's all secondary. You need to ground yourself in what is primary. What is primary is that you know that you want to make the most of your life and you want to live a passionate life and you want to be fully engaged with life. That's what you want. Do you want that or not? Now, if you don't want that, I can't help you. Nobody can help you. But if you do want that, then the rest, in a sense, solves itself. As long as you're focused on what you really want every single day and you wake up and you focus on that and you keep focusing on that and you keep wondering, how can I make this a reality? It doesn't matter what the obstacles are. It doesn't matter that you don't know how to do it. It doesn't matter that you don't have enough money. It doesn't even matter if you don't know exactly how you want your life to play out. None of that matters, because what matters really is first principles. You operate based upon first principles. And if your principle is engagement and passion and honoring your life, then all you have to do basically is keep asking yourself every single day, what is going to make me 100% engaged? What does it mean to be honoring my life? What is the most meaningful thing I can be doing with my life? What is the highest vision for my life? And you just focus on that, and you ignore all of the excuses, all of the obstacles, all of the limiting beliefs, all of the distractions. Those will all be there. You're going to have fears. You're going to have questions about how to go about this. Don't let that distract you. Keep your eye on the ball. Very much fulfilling on this promise of living an engaged life depends upon you not getting distracted. And this requires a seriousness and a focus. And nobody is going to do this for you. Only you can focus yourself. Only you can adopt the kind of seriousness that is necessary to actualize this kind of life. People around you are going to be distracting you constantly with their problems, their attachments, their fears, their BS, their culture wars, their latest, titillating distractions, their pursuit of petty, shallow things like money and sex and pleasure. That's what everybody around you is going to be doing, and they're going to be dragging you into their activities. And you got to be focused enough, keeping your eye on the ball of what you're really up to, which is you are building your life for maximum engagement, maximum passion, and nothing will get in your way. This is non-negotiable. This is what allows you to cut through all the shit. And there will be a lot of shit. There will be a lot of excuses and limiting beliefs. This is all par for the course. Expect that. It doesn't matter that you don't know the details of how you're going to go about doing this, because all of that you will figure out along the way. It simply doesn't matter. Especially at this day and age that we live in, the 21st century, with the internet. You have no excuses anymore. All of the information, all of the knowledge, all of the wisdom, all of the principles that you need to create this kind of life are at your fingertips. If not free, then for pennies and dollars, you can get this stuff. It's not hard. All of the world's books are at your disposal. You can find courses on anything you need. You can find workshops, seminars, conventions on any bit of information you need, any skills you need. What makes this so powerful and so hopeful is when you realize that really, literally nothing is stopping you. There is nothing stopping you from actualizing your life other than your own complacency and laziness and lack of focus and lack of discipline. That's really it. That is the obstacle. All other obstacles are just offshoots of this. You can find any resource you need, any knowledge, any experience you lack, you can develop. Any skills you don't have, you can build. Anything you don't know, you can find somebody who's already done something similar, and you can get their advice and work off of their experience. Of course, this requires you to be very committed and very resourceful and go out there and search for this stuff. But if you're fully engaged at 100% with actualizing your full potential and honoring this gift of your life, then you'll do this eagerly. It won't even be a chore for you. And you will build your life piece by piece by piece, day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. You will build the skills you need. You will find the people you need. You will read the books you need. You will find the videos you need. You'll listen to the podcasts you need. You'll find the experts you need. All the fears you have, it's okay. You'll tackle them one by one. All the limiting beliefs you have, it's okay. You'll tackle them one by one and you'll bust them all. Nothing is preventing you from busting all of your limiting beliefs. Whatever obstacles you have, whether they're financial ones, you can tackle those. Health obstacles, you can tackle many of those as well. If it's having the wrong people in your life, you can get rid of those people. If it's about finding better people, adding better people to your life, you can add better people to your life. But you have to be fully engaged and you have to be willing to do whatever it takes to get it done. If it means moving to a different city, you move to a different city. If it means moving to a different country, you move to a different country and you don't make excuses about it. You see, and that's the power of this method, is that ordinarily it's like when you want something, then there's usually a cost to it. And then when you hear the cost, you're like, well, but that's kind of inconvenient. I don't want to do that. But when you're fully engaged, you don't care what the cost is. You do it anyways. And you eagerly take on the challenge of facing all these obstacles and paying all these costs. In fact, you're proactive about paying the cost. When you realize that I got to move to a different country in order to actualize my full potential, rather than saying like, well, but that's going to be a problem and how am I going to live there and I'm going to be far from my family and all this stuff. You don't think about that. You get excited about the prospect of, I'm going to do it. I'm going to go through this challenge, but that's going to get me one step closer to what I need to actualize my life. And in a sense, it's not even an option in your mind. You must do it because you've already committed to being fully engaged with your life. And if this is necessary, then it's necessary. And this is just the next thing you got to do. And in this way, you will tackle every single obstacle that comes your way. And a lot of it is going to be a deep introspection, asking yourself honestly, who do I have to become to reach my full potential? How am I going to have to change myself? What kind of fears do I have that need to be dropped or faced? What kind of limiting beliefs? What kind of lack of experience? Maybe you don't have enough public speaking experience. Maybe you don't have enough socialization experience. You feel deficient in that area. Whatever area you feel deficient in, maybe you're deficient with finances. Maybe you're deficient with sexuality, and that's holding you back. You systematically go through all of those and you fix all your deficiencies, one by one, by one, by one. And what you have to realize is that nothing is preventing you from doing that. All of these problems can be solved with enough vision, clarity, focus, and hard work. And it is going to take work. You need to develop a work ethic. This is not possible. What I'm talking about, living a fully engaged life, is not possible without work ethic. So that's a bullet you're going to have to bite. And the way you bite that bullet is just to, again, if you're really connected to the sacredness of your existence and your life and this one opportunity you have, then you're going to be willing to work to honor it. What does it take to honor your life? If that means you're going to have to wake up early and go to the gym, then that's what you're going to do. If that means you're going to have to go to the grocery store and buy healthy vegetables to make smoothies in the morning or whatever to give you the energy you need to power you throughout the day, then you go do that. Sometimes it's going to be a grind. But also as you practice and do that, you're going to start to engage in activities which you actually enjoy doing. It's not all going to be a grind. Because in the end, the point is not to grind towards some achievement. That's not what I'm talking about here. In the end, the point is to enjoy the process of building yourself up to who you want to be in life. That should be an enjoyable process for the most part. Sometimes it'll be a grind. But the core of the work you're going to be doing has to be built around something you actually enjoy doing. So what is that? Maybe it's music, maybe it's art, maybe it's filmmaking, maybe it's public speaking, maybe it's writing, maybe it's coding, maybe it's engineering, maybe it's design work, maybe it's dealing with people. If you're a very social sort of person, extroverted type of person, then you actually enjoy dealing with people. Personally, for me, dealing with people is my idea of hell. But hey, I'm not a very people person. And you might be, and that's okay. What do you actually enjoy doing? The core of your work has to be built around what you actually enjoy doing. What are you interested in? What facets of reality fascinate you deeply, profoundly? If it's music, go into music. If it's film, go into film. If it's spirituality, go into spirituality. If it's metaphysics, go into metaphysics. If it's philosophy, go into philosophy. If it's engineering, go into engineering. If it's computers, go into computers. If it's cartoons, go into cartoons. If it's video games, go into video games. This is actually very simple stuff. Our minds make it way too complicated. The blueprint for living an amazing life is not complicated. It's simple. Don't make it complicated. Don't get lost in the distractions. There's so many distractions. The distractions will confuse you and lead to a lack of clarity. All you really got to do is you got to find the thing in life you're most fascinated by and pursue that. Find the thing that you really enjoy doing for its own sake and pursue that. If it's carpentry, it's carpentry. And find a way to make it work, to make it sustainable. And keep doing that and keep building on it and building on it and building on it. And become really good at that thing. Build the skills. This is going to take years. Build those skills. And keep building those skills, both the technical skills, but also then the inner skills you need. The psychology, you're going to have to retrain your mind and your psychology in order to allow you to be really good in that field, in that domain. And keep investing in that over and over and over again, every day, every week, every month, every year. And keep doing that over decades. Keep investing and investing and investing and investing in those skills. Both the hard skills, the technical skills, and also the soft skills. We might say you're going to be investing in the outer game and also in the inner game. The inner game is what my work can help you with the most. The inner game, I mean, working on your psychology, improving that, removing limiting beliefs, tackling shadow stuff, working on epistemology, some metaphysical stuff, some spiritual stuff, being more disciplined, learning how to motivate yourself, learning how to let go of certain things, facing fears and dealing with fear, dealing with anger, dealing with emotional stuff, emotional mastery. All of these will be crucial as a foundation for the outer game of the skills that you will be developing in whatever career or craft that you pursue. And as you get better and better at that craft that you're pursuing, you're going to be able to monetize it. Either for an employer, for a boss, or as your own boss, or as an entrepreneur, or as a small business, or as a large business, in a corporate environment or in a non-corporate environment. You're going to start to be able to monetize that and then be able to live off of that. And pay your bills with that. At the highest level, what this challenge of life is really about, and the reason it's an honoring of your life, is that you're not just going to be developing a career or practicing a craft. Really, what you're going to be doing at a spiritual, metaphysical level is you're going to be finding some unique way to fall in love with yourself, with reality, and then expressing that love in your unique way. That's really what we're talking about here. See, there's only two options. Either you're going to love your life or you're not. What do you think it takes to love life? That's a proactive endeavor to love life. To love life, first of all, begins with looking around you and realizing how beautiful and amazing it is. Just the baseline of existence itself. You got to connect with that. That's spirituality 101. Is just not taking the beauty of life for granted. The beauty of life is infinite. It's literally infinite beauty. Now that's obscured by all of the survival challenges and obstacles and problems. I get that. Life can be a pain in the ass, but you can't let all of that get in the way of the core. Your core is the thing you find most beautiful about life. You find that, you latch onto it, and you don't let that go for any distractions. And anytime you get distracted from it, you bring yourself back after, within a day, a week at most, you bring yourself back and ground yourself in the core. For example, for me, what I find most beautiful about life, and there's a lot of things that are very beautiful about reality. But for me, and this is a bias, this is my bias, my eccentricity, you might say, and that's okay. Because every finite human mind is going to have its own eccentricities of what it finds most beautiful about life that's worthwhile to pursue. For me, personally, what it is the mind. I find the mind to be the most remarkable aspect of existence. The fact that I can think, the fact that I can understand things, the fact that I can be intellectual, that I can make sense of reality. This to me is the most magical and amazing feature of reality. I love that aspect of reality. I love the fact that I can think about reality and actually figure shit out. To me, that's a quasi-mystical experience, just that right there. It's amazing that that's even possible. People take this for granted. It's amazing that you can even think. It's so amazing. And then all the different ways in which you can think, and all the ways in which you can think that are sort of twisted and distorted and corrupt, and the way the mind can be biased, the way it can be prejudiced, the way it can become ideological and dogmatic, the way it can be closed or open, the way it can create cults and ideologies and various toxic forms of belief, and the ways that it can have genuine insight into the nature of things. The way it can be wrong, the way it can be right, the way that it tricks itself, all of these games that it plays with itself. To me, this is the most fascinating aspect of my existence. It's messy, it's complicated, it's difficult to figure out. It's like an infinite puzzle, this labyrinth of the mind. And I just love exploring it. I love it purely for its own sake. I love it at an aesthetic level. I love the aesthetics of mind. Just the patterns and the ways in which it behaves, the way it twists and turns. To me, that's beautiful. Like a person might see a beautiful sunset or a beautiful mountain range, and you might look at that and say, wow, that's amazing. Or you might see an animal, like a really close-up macro photograph of some insect, a butterfly or something. You might say, wow, that's amazing. Look at the structure of that. That's amazing. And if you really love that butterfly and the whole idea of studying insects, then you should probably become a biologist or someone who studies insects for a living. You should be out in the Amazon discovering new insects and studying them under the microscope if that's what you really find most fascinating about reality. But see, for me, the thing I find most fascinating is not insects or dinosaur bones, as cool as that is. I love those things. Or mountains or trees or looking up at the stars and looking up at photographs of planets. I mean, as amazing and magical as all those things are, all of that pales in comparison to the magic of the mind. I can appreciate the functions of my mind in the same way that a connoisseur can appreciate the different kinds of wine. Or tasting different kinds of food from around the world, different cuisines. There are these shows that were I don't know if they're still popular, but there were these shows that were popular some years back where this guy would just travel around the world and taste different cuisines, and he would deliberately go out of his way to taste like weird cuisines. Sometimes it was disgusting stuff, for shock value, but sometimes it's just very sort of alien different types of foods that normally you wouldn't eat. And just exploring that. See, and if you have that sort of love for that, then you go and do that, and then your life becomes something you love. Well, for me, that's how mind is. That's my attitude towards mind. I love the aesthetics of it in the same way that you might go to an art gallery and just look at a Van Gogh or at a Monet and just kind of compare them and marvel at them and look at the brush strokes and, think about what did the artist mean when he drew this and what kind of composition and use of colors and light and structure and lines and geometry was used there, the way an art historian might study that kind of stuff. And, if you enjoy that, then go become an art historian. Or become an artist. Become a Picasso. To me, I appreciate the aesthetics of mind in that way. And I love the fact that mind is so abstract and intangible. That, in fact, makes it all the more interesting to me. Now, that's not the only thing I like or that I'm fascinated by within reality, but it's my eccentricity. And so I've devoted my life to exploring mind. Because see, someone in the universe has to explore mind, or it will go unexplored. I mean, think about it. What is mind? You don't even know what mind is. You're using mind all the time. You're thinking, you're imagining, you're conscious of things. You're subscribing to various beliefs and ideologies. But most people don't appreciate the aesthetics of that. They only care about mind as a means for some sort of other end. Like, how can I use my mind to manipulate somebody to get something? But that's not what mind is to me. To me, I'm not interested in how I can use the mind to achieve some goal. To me, the exploration of the mind is the goal. It's an end in itself. The pleasure comes from not achieving something with the mind. The pleasure comes from exploring the mind and appreciating its beauty for its own sake. In the same way that when you're a connoisseur of wine, you sipping the wine is not done towards some other end. You're not sipping the wine to get drunk, to then reach some sort of party state and to have fun with your friends. That's not why you're drinking the wine. See, that's why most people drink alcohol, is to get drunk and then maybe to go get laid or something and to have fun at a party. You're drinking the wine because you actually appreciate the wine. To you, the wine is the end. Likewise, when you're an artist, you're a true artist. To you, it's not about making a painting to sell as many copies as you can to become as rich as you can so you can live in a mansion. That's not a true artist. A true artist is in it for the process of making the art, exploring the domain of art, whatever art form you're exploring, whether it's sculpture or architecture or painting. You want to explore that art form for its own sake because you find that to be most interesting and beautiful. Now, be careful here because even though I'm sort of confessing to you my own passion for life, you have to be careful that I'm only putting this out there as an example. My love for the aesthetics of mind. I'm only putting this out as an example. I'm not saying that you should now go copy me. And that's the danger with giving you this example. Because now many of you will be tempted to just say, oh, well, I want to do what Leo's doing. No. You got to find what that thing is for you. And this takes a real honesty. You got to be real honest with yourself what it is about reality that you find fascinating. Do you find mind fascinating? Maybe you do, maybe you don't. There's really no reason why you should or shouldn't. And so you got to explore reality broadly enough to find something that you really are fascinated by deeply, that you're going to be willing to devote your life to to building skills in, to practicing, and you actually enjoy practicing that. Like for me, I enjoy exploring mind. It gives me deep pleasure doing that, which is one of the reasons why it's so difficult for me to meditate. It's a double-edged sword. And of course, your passions will be a double-edged sword, no matter what your passion is. But see, you got to find that for yourself. Now, one of the challenges with finding that is that you might simply lack experience. You might have experienced so little of life that you simply haven't stumbled upon the thing that you would really fall in love with. It's almost like if you only sleep with 3 people in your life, what are the chances you're actually going to stumble upon your dream person that you really fall in love with? The chances are slim. If you sleep with 50 people, the chances are much higher. Now, I'm not saying you should go out necessarily and sleep with 50 people. This is just an example. But likewise, you want to stick your nose in enough things in life that you have a relatively good sampling. It's almost like going to a buffet. You go to a buffet and you don't stick to 3 dishes. The whole point of a buffet, the beauty of a buffet, is that you get to sample a lot of different stuff until you find something you really fall in love with, and then you go hog wild on that thing and you just get a couple of full plates of that thing, whatever that is for you. Lobsters, crabs, steak, bacon, That's how a buffet works, and that's really what life is. It's a love buffet. So one of the mistakes people make is that they simply don't have enough broad experience testing different stuff that they can actually make a informed selection. So you need to. So if you're stuck in that place, and if you're very young, the younger you are, the less experience you have. So if you're really young, the way that you can catalyze this process and speed it up is start to, like I've talked about in my previous episode about exposing yourself to massive experience, right? That episode, you want to expose yourself more and more to experience as much as you can. This means practical things like traveling, reading more books, going to conventions, talking to different kinds of people, living in different parts of the world, doing lots of research online. You want to expose yourself to as much experience as possible so you can stumble upon something that you really enjoy. Also, running through many hobbies. Try different stuff. Try doing some mechanical stuff. Like, for example, when I was younger, I was interested in like RC cars, RC helicopters, sort of the kind of stuff they sell at the classic hobby stores. I would build helicopters, I would build remote control cars, and things like that, sort of mechanical engineering type stuff. I was interested in that. So try that kind of stuff, or maybe go and actually, like, maybe if you're interested in dinosaurs, go travel to a place where you maybe could actually dig up some dinosaur bones. See what that's like. I remember when I was younger, I became interested in meteorites. I actually then made a trip. Me and my brother, I convinced my brother to take a trip to the Mojave Desert in California to a salt lake bed where we actually walked around in the middle of triple-digit weather. It was ridiculously hot in the summer, but we went out there anyways in the middle of this, in the desert, walking around searching for meteorites, which you can do on salt lake beds. That's one of the best places to find them. I didn't actually find any. They're pretty difficult to find, but that was an experience. And so by sticking your nose into a lot of different stuff, you get a sense of what resonates with you and what doesn't. And you keep using that to refine your sense of what you really want to commit your life to. You keep testing the waters like at a buffet, keep testing different dishes, and then you stumble upon something, and then you go all in on that. And hey, you might be wrong. Maybe that's not going to be your ultimate pursuit. But this is not about perfection. This is just about you're incrementally inching your way closer and closer, right? The way you live life it's not like a like a sniper shot where you take a careful aim at the target you want and you just shoot, right between the eyes. That's not how life works. It's more like a homing missile. The homing missile adjusts its orientation no matter where it is. It's always adjusting towards the target a little bit, a little bit, a little bit, and eventually it reaches the goal. And that's how you're going to do it. It's more of an improvisational technique than it is some sort of deliberate plan, because when you start out in life, you're going to be totally ignorant. You're so ignorant when you are born, you don't even know what you like and what you don't like. You have to discover that. And so part of what this is it's a self-discovery process. Life is a giant process of self-discovery. You're discovering the way in which you want to honor and to love life. How do you want to fall in love with life? And what is it going to look like? You're falling in love with life. What is it going to look like to manifest that? Because see, first, in a sense, you kind of fall in love with life or some facet of life. And then you're going to be working to deepen that love. By working on that thing, you're deepening your love for it every time you work on it. And then you deepen it and deepen it and deepen it. And then as you develop skills and proficiency in that, you're going to want to share your creative inventions and constructions with others for the benefit of others and to help them to see the beauty of that aspect of life. So, for example, maybe you're fascinated by industrial design, and what you really like is you like to design cars, the shapes of cars. Maybe you're really fascinated by that. And so you go into that and you study the shit out of the different shapes of cars, and you start making the most beautiful shapes of cars that have ever been made. And then you're excited to share that with others, to have your designs driving on the road by the millions, seen by millions of people. Having other people appreciate your designs. And then you work towards making yourself the best at that. What do you got to do to train yourself to do that really well? This is ultimately how you stay motivated and engaged with life. You have to connect it with love. Stop treating love of life as a luxury. Like, oh, well, Leo, yeah, you're talking about love, but I just got to pay my electric bill. I just got to feed my kids. I don't have time to worry about what I love about life. This is idiocy. This sort of attitude. If you truly fell in love with life and you had a focus and you were engaged and motivated, and that allowed you to be disciplined and focused and actually building skills and being highly creative and excellent at what you do, developing mastery in something, you wouldn't have any problem paying your electric bills or feeding your children. The reason you can't feed your children and pay your electric bills is because you haven't done what I've talked about. Because you're complacent and you're just following the path of least resistance and you're not really engaged with life. Therefore, you struggle to even wake up in the morning and go to work. And the work you go to is some menial dead-end job, some form of wage slavery where they barely pay you enough to pay your rent. And you don't even have enough bargaining power to change that because you haven't developed any serious skills that would provide amazing value to the world. You see, to provide amazing value to the world, you need to be able to create amazing things. To create amazing things, you have to be in love with what you're creating. Are you in love with serving coffee at Starbucks? Are you in love with packing groceries into bags at the grocery store? Are you in love with taking people's money at the cashier stand where you work? Are you in love with serving people food if you're a waiter? Well, if you're not in love with those things, and yet you're doing those things 8 hours a day for the majority of your life, decade after decade, how can you love your life? You can't love your life. You can't be engaged with your work. And therefore, your work is going to be mediocre at best. And it's going to be a waste of life. And deep down, you're going to know it's a waste of life. To honor your life means that you make it your non-negotiable duty to find what you love most about life and to do that thing on a regular basis. No excuses. This is not a luxury. This is the backbone for your entire life. And if you take that attitude, eventually you will succeed in this. To honor your life is to fall in love with reality in your unique way. See, the beauty of what reality is as a system at a metaphysical and spiritual level is that reality is an infinite singularity of love, which manifests itself in an infinite diversity of form, infinite forms of animals and inanimate objects and mechanical objects and computers and art and music and film and everything. Stars and planets and rocks and mountains and rivers and underwater areas and caves and virtual worlds and video games and virtual reality and different kinds of businesses. All of that. It's an infinite multiplicity contained as a singular whole. And it's designed in such a way that you get to participate in that infinite multiplicity in your preferred way. Because by virtue of you being a finite, incarnated in a finite body and mind, as you are, as this human form, for the duration of this particular life you have, you're going to naturally have certain inclinations and aversions and certain biases. Now, in certain ways, your biases can be problematic, but in other ways, your biases are necessary as part of your finite form. Just by the virtue of you being finite, you're going to have certain biases that are necessary to maintain that. And that's okay. Now, if you want, you can shed all of your biases, you can become completely infinite, and you can experience love at the absolute level. If you want to love the entirety of the multiplicity, you can do that. That would be the ultimate pursuit of spiritual awakening. But that's not necessary per se. The beauty of reality is that it's designed in such a way that you can do that if you want, but you don't have to. You can also enjoy and appreciate life in a more finite way, which is maybe all that you're up for in this life. You can become an artist and just paint and just appreciate painting and fall in love with painting and just appreciate that facet of the infinite multiplicity. Because you see, there are trade-offs between loving reality at sort of the big picture level versus at the small finite level. Because at the biggest picture level, when you completely zoom out of reality, all form collapses and disappears. And so your love becomes completely metaphysical and abstract. It's a pure abstract love. It's a love that's so abstract that it can't even separate into forms. Like, you can't really appreciate a Picasso painting at that level, because the painting can't even materialize, because everything is so unified into just an infinite nothingness. If you want to appreciate a Picasso painting, you got to incarnate as a human to look at that Picasso painting and appreciate it. And also, there had to be a finite Picasso to create that finite painting. A painting is a finite thing. You can appreciate beauty in its finite form and also in its infinite form. And so, in a sense, what the universe is doing is it's incarnating from that purely abstract pure infinity. It's incarnating to appreciate itself in the fine details, in the minutia of what infinity means, which is all the finite forms. It's sort of like white light, which contains all the different colors of light, is being polarized through a prism into the different colors, and then the different colors are being able to appreciate themselves. Like the color blue gets to say, oh, look how lovely blue is. Blue is an amazing color. And then the color yellow says, but I'm amazing too. That's a beautiful color too. And then orange says, but I'm beautiful too. And then the color red says, I'm beautiful too. And so all of them are beautiful in their own unique way. And so if you want, you can fall in love with one particular color. Or if you want to be super like mystical, you can recollect all the colors back into their pure white light, and then you can love that. You can love them all simultaneously to the point where they even disappear. Because what you love is you just love the white light. You love the potential more than you love the particular forms of individual colors. You just love the potential before it's even been polarized. That would be like the Godhead, loving the Godhead, existing as the Godhead. But see, the universe takes both forms. The universe loves itself in its pure form, the non-polarized form, and then the universe polarizes itself, consciousness polarizes itself in its full multiplicity and diversity, and then it marvels at that. Or it gets horrified as that too. I mean, the universe incarnates itself as genocide and slavery and racism and all that nasty stuff that we generally don't like. And then the universe appreciates that too. People who are racists, they love racism. They love their racism. People who do genocide, they love genocide. People who are warmongers, they love their war. Now, from a human perspective, we say that's kind of twisted and weird and dysfunctional. But hey, who are we to judge the universe for what it likes? The universe loves all of itself. So there's going to be people who love all aspects of reality, even the most twisted, dark corners of it. Now, I'm not suggesting you go in that direction, but find something positive and constructive in the universe and then fall in love with it. You can also do both. You can sort of reach up towards the Godhead and experience that a bit, and then you can still fall in love with some specific feature of reality. Maybe it's martial arts. Maybe that's your thing. Maybe it's MMA. Maybe it's hunting. Maybe it's fishing. Maybe it's treasure hunting. Maybe it's hunting for dinosaurs. Maybe it's history. Maybe it's living outdoors. Maybe it's being a farmer. Maybe it's science. You see, this is instinctively what the most successful humans are doing. And the most happy humans, the most passionate humans, they're doing what I'm talking about instinctively. But they're doing it implicitly. They're not conscious of what they're doing. If you do what I'm saying consciously, you can do it much more effectively. and it can take on a much deeper spiritual dimension. So most people are falling in love with certain aspects of reality, but they don't connect that to any kind of deeper spiritual notion of love. They just sort of pursue their instincts in an animal-like fashion, and they become successful at it. They make good money at it. They build certain skills in it. But it's still limited. They're not fully realizing the majesty of what reality is and what it offers. See, reality offers this to you. It's the greatest gift. But it's the kind of gift that you have to work at it. You have to invest in it over months and years. Because it's a mature sort of gift. It's a complex gift. It's not a kind of gift that you just open it and there it is for you. It's the kind of gift that it's like a very complicated piece of furniture. You bring it back home, you unbox it, and then it's all in pieces. You got to assemble it. You got to assemble your life, and then your life project is assembling this piece of furniture that eventually, once you assemble it piece by piece by piece, more of the love and beauty of it is revealed to you. And then finally, when you assemble the entire thing, you realize that the entire process was just a process of you falling in love with this object that you've been building. And the reason that it's so challenging is precisely because it's so open-ended. It's radically open-ended. See, most people, this is a video game analogy we're going to use. There's two types of video games. There's sandbox games, and then there's very linear games, which have a defined story. And you just go through a linear path. It's completely linear. You go from A to B to C to D, and you have no branching choices. These kinds of video games are really designed for sheep gamers because they require the least effort. These are the most casual kinds of games. They require the least investment, the least vision. You just go down corridor after corridor after corridor, just going through the motions. And these kinds of games are the least rewarding. The other kind of games, which are more for hardcore players, are sandbox games, like a SimCity sort of game, where there's no clear objective. You can do whatever you want. You can build whatever you want. There's no need to build anything. There's no need to go in any particular direction or achieve any particular goal. Explore, do whatever you want, have fun however you want. But these sorts of games, to get the most out of them, requires that you bring your own meaning to the game. You set your own goals. You define your own objectives. You have to have some kind of vision. There's an inherent trade-off there. When your game is very linear, it tends to go only one way for everybody. Everybody has the same kind of experience. It's not very diverse. Also, these games aren't highly replayable. You played it once, you don't want to play it again because you're just going to go through the same thing all over again. The same cutscenes, all the same obstacles, all the same bosses. It's not interesting. How much more interesting is it to replay that game, but this time you're going in, before you went north, now you're going south, and it's a totally different area with totally different monsters, totally different loot, all in different characters, different stories, different cutscenes. That's a kind of game you can play over and over again. Well, life is an infinitely replayable game. It's the ultimate infinite sandbox game, completely open-ended. This is the beauty and intelligence of the design. The trade-off, though, is that because it's so infinitely open-ended, there's nobody telling you what you should do. If you don't create your own meaning and your own objectives, your own vision, what's going to happen is you're just going to go around in circles, and your life is going to feel fairly meaningless and hollow. And you're going to tap into only 1% of what life has to offer. There's going to be so much you don't explore. And you're not going to experience the full infinite beauty of what life has to offer. Because to experience that, you have to bring that intention into it. And it becomes easy to get distracted because different people are doing different things. And a lot of people in society and in the media are doing stupid things. And they've turned their existence into just a rat race, some sort of mechanical grinding thing, or the pursuit of some never-ending material chase for things or for pleasure, or just even avoiding suffering. That's what their life becomes about, just minimizing suffering. Can you imagine that? Of course you're depressed if you're living your life just to minimize suffering every day. Then you're constantly just thinking about suffering. Even if you have a little bit of suffering, you're still thinking about suffering. The way to endure suffering is to have some sort of higher thing that you're more passionate about, such that you can ignore the suffering. And so other humans have actually built corridors into this open world game that is life. They've built corridors that they corral people down like cattle. And you know why they do that? Because it earns them money. And if you're complacent and you're not going to be on your own path, having your own vision, your own plan, your own direction for your life, and you're not going to be very hyper-focused, and instead you're going to be letting others manipulate you and tell you what to do and persuade you and influence you too much, then you're going to be going down their corridors, and their corridors have basically been turned into monetization schemes and machines. Whether it's the university system or academia or science or the corporate world. Or Orthodox religion. These are all channels designed by others for enhancing their own survival at your expense. And what they do is they allow you to live a sort of easy life. Like, for example, if you go into Orthodox religion, you don't have to think very hard. You don't have to be original. You don't have to be creative. You don't have to truly explore the spiritual domain of reality. You just go by their rules, go to church on time, show up at the right time, at the right date that they tell you to show up on. It's very robotic and mechanical, and it gives you a little bit of a sense of direction. It's almost like it's a certain game that you can play, but it's a very weak way to play a game. If you wanted to, you could construct your own pathway towards exploring the spiritual dimensions of reality, which don't rely upon showing up at a certain place at a certain time and following certain rituals that somebody else has designed for you, but that follows your own heart and your own interests, that is more aligned with your values and strengths and interests. And that would be a much more powerful way to explore spirituality. But that would require some serious work and focus and vision and investment, because you'd have to build that out for yourself rather than just using this channel that has been built out for you. And these channels, because they're built to accommodate masses of people, they're built for the lowest common denominator. So you're sacrificing depth for breadth. And to me, the most amazing aspect of reality is how infinitely deep it goes. And that's what's beautiful about open-ended games, sandbox games, is the depth and complexity that they have. Whereas the sort of linear corridor shooters, they're very simple. Their simplicity makes them less rewarding. So see, somewhere along the way, you got channeled into some of these corridors, these narrow pathways through life, and that has robbed you of living authentically to yourself, and that has robbed you of engagement and passion and love, because chances are you're not in love with that corridor that you're walking down, because that corridor really wasn't built to accommodate and to make your own love flower. It was built to accommodate masses and to earn money from them, and just to maybe help them survive a little bit in order to enrich the people who built the corridors and help them survive a little bit. And so what's crucial for living life to your highest potential is that you have to become very independent in your thinking and in the way you construct your life. You have to really customize life to yourself. But that takes more work. That takes vision, clarity, focus. That takes a self-exploration. Because if you don't explore yourself, how can you know how to customize your life to suit yourself? So it takes a lot of maturity. And again, seriousness. In order to fully plumb the potential of life. Life is designed in such a way that it's really designed for those who want to go deep. Those are the ones who will get the design and appreciate its beauty. Those who are just coasting by and are doing the bare minimum, to them, life will be lost on them. They'll live for 70 years, and at the end of it, they'll just ask, well, what was all that about? Seemed kind of meaningless, kind of pointless. Is that all there is to life? I did some stuff. I had sex with some people. I had some children. I went to work for 40 years. I did some of this stuff. I ate some good food. But then is that it? That's all there is to life? It's kind of meaningless. Kind of lame. And it never even occurs to them that they've only experienced 1% of what life had to offer, because they were never serious about it. Life is like a gold mine. You have to mine deep to get the gold. The gold is deep underground. And when you realize that, and then you commit your life to digging deeper and deeper and deeper every day, because you know if you spend the next 10, 20 years digging deep, eventually you're going to hit the mother lode. And then that mother lode will keep paying dividends for the rest of your life. And then you're going to keep even digging deeper and deeper, and it's just going to get better and better and better and better. And the beauty of all this is that literally nobody is stopping you but yourself. It's your own complacency and disconnection from love, your own negative beliefs and habits and things that is stopping you, your own lack of vision. That's what's so hopeful about all this. You have nothing to be depressed about. You can start turning your life around right now. Whatever has happened in the past has happened. It doesn't matter. Now that you have this information, now that you understand the big picture of how to create an engaged life, you can begin doing that today, tomorrow. And nothing will stop you as long as you're completely committed to this process. You're going to have a lot of failure along the way. I'm not saying it's going to be easy. I'm not saying it's all going to be success from here on out. You're going to have a lot of failure. It doesn't matter. Your commitment, your willingness to work at it, your willingness to pay the cost is all it really takes. And then you'll see you're going to feel good about your life. Even if you don't achieve anything yet per se, it might take you 5 or 10 years to actually achieve something from that. It doesn't really matter. You're going to feel positive and hopeful because you're so committed to this process. You need to have a faith in this. These are deep principles of life we're talking about here. You can bank on these principles. You have to trust in these principles. Now you might wonder, well, Leo, how do I know that these principles are valid? Well, of course, the only way you can know is by exploring it for yourself and verifying it for yourself. I'm sharing with you my own discoveries from having lived life and studied it. If you want, you can study, you can read books, you can cross-reference what I say with what other people say, you can try to make sense of things. But ultimately, the way you're going to know is by doing it and trying it. Life is a beautiful thing when it's lived according to principles, the right principles. And life becomes really shitty when you're not living according to principles. I've shared many of the principles in the past. I have videos about that. I've shared some principles here as well. For example, one principle is that the pursuit of love for reality is not a luxury. It is the core. It is essential. It is crucial. Without it, you're lost. That's one principle. You take that principle and now you build your whole life around that principle. This is an eternal principle. It has always been true for humans and it always will be true for humans. Another principle is work ethic. You cannot have a great life without developing work ethic. When you realize that, then you're going to do whatever it takes to develop the work ethic. It doesn't matter if you've been lazy in the past or if you don't know how to build a work ethic. It doesn't matter. When you realize the principle that either I develop a work ethic, strong work ethic, or I will have a shitty life, you only have one option at that point, which is to develop a work ethic no matter what. You're going to go read the books, struggle through whatever practices you need to, build the habits you need to eventually develop that work ethic. Another principle is facing your fears. Because fear is the opposite of love. And if you're going to pursue deep love, your primary obstacle is going to be various sorts of fears that you have. And you've got many of them. And those fears need to be faced head on and conquered. And it's the conquering of those fears that makes life rewarding. And that makes the love deeper. Another principle of life is that you're going to get what you put into it. I've said that in the past. So when you realize that, now you become excited about investing every single day into your life, and you invest and invest and invest and invest more and more and more, and it builds upon itself like a snowball. And then it starts paying more and more dividends. And the earlier you start to do that, it has compounding returns, just like in the stock market. Another principle is to be constructive rather than destructive. That's a topic I'll address in the future by itself. It's a very important topic, but a lot of people get mired in criticism, judgment, debates, ideological arguments, trying to debunk others, trying to troll others, attacking others, doing violence to others. I mean, probably half of the world's energy is wasted on destructive activities. It can be very seductive. When you have no better constructive plan or vision, then destruction is the only joy the ego gets. And it's much easier to destroy a thing than to construct something beautiful. But if you've got a clear sense of what you love and what you're going to be doing, you have a clear vision, then you can get very constructive about it. And you ignore all the destructive stuff. You eliminate all the destructive stuff from your life, all the criticism, all the trolling, all the attacking, all the demonizing, and you just focus on being constructive all the time, and you fall in love with being constructive. The act of being creative. Creativity is one of the greatest joys of life. It's a question of how do you want to be creative? Because reality is infinite creativity. There are many other principles. I won't articulate them all here. I'd have to sit down and think deep about them to make a long list. And I have done some of that in the past and probably will do more of that in the future. But you get the point. But these principles, you gotta contemplate them and think about them deeply until they penetrate into your mind. You really get their significance. That's when it starts to transform you. It transforms you. And see, these principles, they can't just become beliefs and dogma. You have to sort of derive them, or at the very least, you have to think through them enough to see why they work or how they will play out in your life. And then when you do that, then you get interested in obeying those principles. And of course, you're going to fall off track with following these principles many times, but you bring yourself back and back and back and back. And it's a sort of discipline of bringing yourself back to the principles, to the principles, to the principles. Every time you fall off, you bring yourself back until you ingrain them very deeply into your psyche. And then they will shape your life, and they will make your life easier. Then when your friends tell you to, hey, let's go party and go drinking and binge drinking and this sorts of stuff, or doing drugs, you tell them no, because I'm sticking to a certain principle. I'm going to get much more pleasure out of the creative work that I'm doing, the life that I'm building, than I will from one night of binge drinking. So I'm going to go to bed early today, so tomorrow I can wake up in the morning and get back to work on my creative pursuits and building the kind of life that I want. Or I'm going to, rather than go binge drinking, I'm going to sit and meditate or do my yoga practice. And when your friend comes to you and starts to criticize somebody and starts saying a bunch of negative and destructive stuff and starts telling you to join him in his destructive activities, you're going to say, no, I'm not interested in that, because my life is about being constructive. I'm pursuing creative endeavors that I love, and I'm just going to keep my eye on that prize, on the ball. And I'm not going to engage in your destructive, trolling, criticizing, ideological activities, because I got something higher to live for. I'm not going to dishonor my life and the universe by engaging in that kind of nonsense. And by doing that over and over and over again in your life and instilling these principles in yourself, that's when your life starts to then become amazing, after years of doing that, after years of building your foundation. This is what creates healthy meaning in your life. A healthy purpose. It's not complicated. It's pretty simple. But are you going to do it? This is an intervention. This can be a turning point for the rest of your life. What you do from the end of this recording, what action you decide to take or not take, this is going to determine the entire trajectory of your life, whether you're going to have a great life or you're going to have a miserable life. And nothing I say here matters unless you take action. These ideas need to penetrate into your mind so deeply that then you are excited to take action tomorrow morning on these ideas. And you don't just forget them the next day. And you don't just do it for one day, but you do it for 2 days, 3 days, for weeks and months and years, and really for the rest of your life. That's how deep these ideas need to penetrate into your mind. And you need to start taking action on them immediately. Stop procrastinating. Stop waiting. Stop expecting some perfect opportunity to open up. Start taking action towards your goal. Don't delay. Even if you're stuck in some situation, let's say you're stuck at a certain job, you're stuck in a certain family situation, you're stuck in a certain country, it doesn't matter. There are things you can do starting tomorrow, baby steps, to start inching your way towards what I'm talking about. Maybe you can't quit your job yet, but you can start making plans for how you can upgrade your job. Maybe you can start looking for better jobs. Maybe you can start taking courses at night, on the weekends, online, to develop skills so that in a few years you could quit this job you're stuck in, and then you'll be more free to pursue the things I'm talking about. That's enough. Maybe right now you're stuck in some third world country or in some bad family situation, and it's going to take you a few years to get out of that. That's okay. You can still take action towards the things I'm talking about. You can go buy some books. Start reading those books. Start creating a plan. Start creating a vision. Start a commonplace book. Maybe start saving up money that you're going to need for when you do get out of that situation. As you begin this long-term process of investing in yourself, you're going to get more engaged. It takes a while for the snowball to gather enough inertia and mass as it's rolling downhill. When it first starts, it's small. You don't feel it. It takes some months and years for it to really accumulate and to be felt. And so you're going to have to go through that initial period of not much stuff is visible. There's not much results yet. You're not feeling a lot of payoff or return or dividend yet. And you keep investing and investing and investing. And this is what most people do not do. It takes a long time horizon. It takes patience. And the thing that holds you over in the meantime is your trust in the principles. If the principles seem sound to you in your mind, then you owe it to those principles to follow up on those principles and to test them out. And the more you invest in yourself, the more you start to love yourself and love your life. The better you want to be. The more reason you have not to engage in shallow, low consciousness activities. The more reason you have to maintain your health. Not to get involved with drugs. Not to get involved with drinking or smoking. Not to get involved with various kinds of wasteful activities like watching a bunch of television. And then your life becomes more interesting because you're actually working towards something. There's now an overarching arc to your life. Now your life starts to take on some meaning and purpose that's beyond survival. Because you're actually living for something beyond survival. You're no longer just doing the easiest thing. You're no longer just doing what everybody else is doing. Now you've taken responsibility and ownership over your own life, and you're planning it out according to you. Now there's a reason to contemplate, to introspect, to journal. There's a reason to read books. There's a reason to educate yourself. There's a reason to go to seminars and to talk to interesting people and to expose yourself to more experiences, because all of those can give you the resources and little tidbits you need in order to develop this larger vision that you're working towards. And now you're engaged. And now you're motivated. And then to really take this to the next level is that you combine that with your study and pursuit of spiritual work, such that you weave together your creative pursuits, whatever that is, your career, with your spiritual practice together so that they inform each other and work synergistically together, such that you can infuse your spiritual insights and the love you get from that practice into the work that you do with people or with whatever you're doing, however you're working. And of course, you don't want to fool yourself into thinking that what you're doing has any kind of ultimate meaning or ultimate purpose. It doesn't. It's a game. It's a sandbox game. And that's what your spiritual pursuits will help you to keep in mind, is that you don't want to take your creative pursuits too seriously. You have to realize that it's just a temporary game you're playing. It's one way of expressing your love for reality out of many other ways. You're exploring some corner of reality, and you don't want to get too attached to that as some end-all, be-all thing. And you should be willing to let it go at any time. Because in the end, what's the difference between one corner of reality and another corner of reality? Nothing other than your biases and eccentricities. So it's a bit paradoxical because you work so hard. You're going to work your ass off in this pursuit. But at the same time, even though you're working so hard, you realize that it's just a game. That you're playing with yourself. And that you don't want to take it too seriously. You don't want to confuse that limited creative pursuit that you're doing with the sum total of reality itself. And your spiritual practice will help to keep that in check. So this is the mistake that many creative and successful people make, is that they get so locked into their career and they have no spiritual practice, that they just take that as all of life. And then that becomes dysfunctional. They become either workaholics, or they then have a very narrow view of life and reality only through the lens of their career. Like, for example, someone becomes a scientist and they think that that's how reality is just they're looking at reality through the lens of materialist science or reductionist science or mathematics or physics, because their physics and their mathematics is not grounded in some sort of deeper spiritual understanding and practice. And so there's this paradox that even though you're working on your life purpose and you're constructing this meaning, in the back of your mind, you understand that all meanings are constructed and they're not really true, that it's just an illusion. And so you might wonder, like, well, why would I work so hard for an illusion? Well, what else is there to do? It doesn't bother you when you're watching a movie that it's an illusion. You enjoy it anyways. It doesn't bother you when you're playing a game that, you're playing Monopoly. Does the Monopoly money have any real world value? No. Does it matter if you get a Monopoly or not? No. Does it matter how many properties you own? No. You enjoy the game of Monopoly. And when you play the game of Monopoly, you take it seriously. You play it as if it's real, as if it matters, as if the money matters. But in the back of your mind, you always keep in mind that it's just a game. And it's there for entertainment. This keeps you in the proper perspective. This is what a lot of people lack who are successful and artistic and creative. They forget it's a game. They forget that science is a game. And that all those are limited. And that really the game, the true game, is unlimited. So enjoy that game. Maybe the next lifetime you'll play a different game. Also, appreciate that different people are playing different games. That's fine. Don't expect everyone to be playing your game. Some people play the game of being a rapist. That's their game. Or they play a game of being a racist. That's their game. The universe is playing every possible game. It's an infinite game. And when all the games have been played, that's how the universe realizes what it is. Infinity. Every possible game. Every possible creative act. Every possible way to love. Every possible form of love. And it's using this particular lifetime in order to love itself in this particular way in which you're going to love. Or if you choose not to, if you choose to just slack off and take the path of least resistance, then the universe will experience that disconnection from love. And that too is a sort of form of love. The lack of love is also a sort of love. And that is that. But are you going to do anything about it? Are you going to actually take action on this? I'm sick of seeing people who watch my content just endlessly mentally masturbating about these ideas without actually taking action. If you're not taking action, you're not actually honoring your life, and you're dishonoring these ideas. Force yourself to take action. Force yourself to take right action. Right action is action according to the principles that we discuss, that we intuit as being correct for living the good life. Don't make it optional. Don't make it optional to live the good life. Don't make it optional to be engaged and passionate in your life. Don't make it optional to love. Don't make it optional to self-actualize. Don't make it optional to grow. Don't make it optional to achieve your full potential. Don't make it optional to honor your life every day. Don't make it optional to be spiritually connected to existence. Make these the core of your life. And at first it's going to be difficult, but just push yourself as best as you can and force yourself to act in alignment with these principles that you intuit are going to work for you. And just keep doing that, keep chipping away at it. I'm not asking you to be perfect about it. You're going to procrastinate here and there. You're going to screw up. You're going to be lazy certain days. You're going to have failures. That's okay. Just keep pushing and pushing gently. At first, it's like rolling a snowball downhill, like just a little bit each day. A little bit. Keep telling yourself that it's going to add up to something big. It's going to add up to something big. Keep pushing a little bit. Keep doing that. Keep doing that. Keep taking action. Notice how your mind tricks you into not taking action, and take action. Notice the distractions. Don't allow yourself to go to the distractions. Focus. Keep your eye on the ball. And before you know it, you're going to start living the good life. This is it. It's not complicated. Don't make it overly complicated. But you have to actually do the things I'm talking about. You have to practice this. If you don't, you're going to become even more miserable than you were before you listened to me. That's one of the burdens of becoming more aware. See, the information I share with you makes you more aware of your potentials and possibilities in life. And as you become aware of these things, but you don't take any action on it, then you become aware of what you're missing. Because I'm talking every week about cool stuff that I'm experiencing, or you could be experiencing, and then you're not experiencing it, and then you feel bad about it. And then you start wondering, well, how do I experience it? And you keep mentally masturbating about these ideas for years, and you don't take any action, and then you're still left nowhere. So don't get caught in that trap. As soon as you start taking action, you're going to feel better. Notice this. You don't need to achieve the end result to feel better. You will start to feel better as soon as you start taking action towards these things. And that's it. Just discipline yourself to follow these practices. Surrender yourself to the principles and to the practices and just start doing them. And that's it. You don't need to make this very complicated or very difficult or very painful. It all really begins with making 100% commitment to living an engaged life, a passionate life. Refuse to live a passionless life. Just refuse. And then allow the actions to happen that are necessary in order to not live a passionless life. It's not complicated. But you do have to disengage from some of the harmful and distracting and destructive social activities that you're immersed in. It could be media, it could be TV, it could be the wrong kind of food that you eat, it could be your family situation, it could be the friends you hang out with, it could be your trolling on online forums or wherever you hang out online. You're going to have to channel your energy into something creative and constructive. And this may feel lonely at first. Because, it's fun to go on a forum and to troll for a few hours with all your troll friends. Your ego gets some satisfaction from that. Whereas disengaging from that and then going and sitting in a room alone by yourself and working on your writing skills or working on your artistic skills or reading a book or meditating, this can feel lonely because you're doing it by yourself. Nobody's there with you. No one's cheerleading you. You're going to have to cheerlead yourself in that process. And no one's going to force you to do it. Either you're going to discipline yourself to do it or it won't get done. But I don't want you to feel bad if you feel like, Leo, what you're saying sounds good and I intuit that it's right, but I just can't, I don't know how to, I can't follow through with it, you might say. I've tried in the past and it hasn't worked and I just keep falling off track. I get distracted so easily. I can't focus. What do I do? It doesn't matter, first of all, how many times you failed in the past. All that matters is how many times you're going to keep trying. So keep trying, keep trying, keep trying. And what you'll notice is if you keep trying, it'll get a little bit easier. Even if you fail tomorrow, it'll still get a little bit easier than if you didn't try at all. Trying and failing is better than not trying at all or sitting there and making excuses. Watch out for your excuses. What do you do if you have a bunch of excuses and limiting beliefs and you don't even believe you can do this? What you do is you realize to yourself, of course, my mind is playing tricks on me. My mind is very self-deceptive, as Leo has talked about in his episodes called Self-Deception, Part 1, 2, 3. I'm aware of the deceptive nature of my own mind. I'm aware that everybody has limiting beliefs. And Leo had many limiting beliefs when he started this whole process. And so those are going to be there. I can't remove those overnight. But what I can do is I can still take action. I can take action. So for example, if I'm overweight and I believe that I'll always be overweight for the rest of my life and I have that limiting belief, I can say, well, maybe that's just a trick of my mind. And you know what? No matter what my mind says, I'm still going to go to the gym tomorrow. Even if my mind is telling me that I'll always be overweight and that I can't lose weight, and it's impossible, I've tried a bunch of times in the past, I'm still going to go to the gym tomorrow and the next day and the next day. And I'm going to keep going and going and going and going, and I will beat my own mind simply through persistent action. Beware of getting stuck in endless intellectualization, endless self-doubt, endless debating with yourself, endless confusion or indecision. You can sit there and ruminate about something, but eventually you got to Make a decision and go take action. And even if you don't think it's maybe the right action, you're not sure, should I take action A or action B? Just make your best guess and go take it and see the results. That's how you push your way through this. See, this is going to be a very messy, hairy process. It's not going to be clean and nice for you. You're going to be in the dark a lot of times. Just trust in the process. Trust that, like a homing missile, you're going to figure out your direction. But you have to take action every day. A little bit of action every day towards what you love. As you do that, you're going to start to get feedback. As you start following these principles of right action, you're going to get a little bit of positive feedback that you're doing the right things. The right thing, things in your life will start to go your way a little bit more. You're going to start to feel a little bit better about yourself, and pay attention to those subtle cues and then keep doubling down on those and just keep doing that. And also, as you do that, your self-esteem will grow. Your sense of self-efficacy will grow. You will start to feel stronger. You will stop feeling like a victim. You will start to feel like you have some sense of control about your life. You can't achieve what I'm talking about without a foundation of discipline, principles, independence of mind, strong work ethic, focus. And you also need solitude. You need solitude to give you time to go inside of yourself and to study yourself and evaluate your own life, to listen to that intuitive voice inside of you that speaks to you, to contemplate and ask yourself questions, to journal. So make sure you leave plenty of room in your life where you're not always harried and rushed to, go to the next event or to the next social thing or to be working. You need time to isolate and to evaluate how your life is going. And in fact, if this is going to be, if you want to make this episode the inflection point in your life that's going to change your whole life forever, where now you're going to start living your life on purpose, engaged, following, pursuing your love and your passion. If you want to make that switch and you also have the free time to do this, I recommend take a couple of days off, at least if you can. Take a week off and just spend a week in silence in a retreat location. It could be at home. You could go camping in a tent in the mountains or rent a cabin in the woods somewhere and just sit there for a week, just contemplating everything I talked about, running it through your mind. See, it's not enough just to listen to what I said once, nor just listening it a bunch of times like robotically. That's not what I'm talking about. What you got to do is you got to really mull this over in your mind until it sinks through. And you can see the consequences and you can develop a bit of a vision of where this is taking you in your life. And ideas can come to you from this. Sit with this. Reflect on it in solitude. Let it sink in. Also, realize that as you're engaging in this process, all sorts of opportunities will come to you. Serendipity will click into place. It'll start to function in your favor. Serendipity means seemingly random things will start to happen to you that reveal to you the path, the next step forward. But this only really happens when you are fully engaged in the process and you're looking for that serendipity to happen and you're looking for the answers and you need that next step. You're not sure what it is, but you're looking for it. You're looking for it. You're contemplating it every day, and then something will come to you. You might be listening, driving in the car to work, and then on the radio, some advertisement on the radio tells you something about, some seminars being held in your city that's related to what you want to be doing. And then that's perfect for you. That's exactly the next step you need, the little piece in the puzzle that's going to get you to the next thing. Or maybe you're looking through some website, and then there you see an advertisement for some job. The next job that you need, the perfect job that's aligned with, your skills, that's going to get you to the next level, that's going to get you out of your crappy job that you're stuck in now. And you can seize on that. Trust that the universe is going to help you in this process. When you align yourself with the right principles, when you've got the work ethic, when you're focused, when you're being constructive and creative, when you're taking time in solitude to contemplate this stuff, when you're thinking deeply, when you're asking probing questions, when you're taking life seriously, when you set the intention to honor your life and reality, when you align yourself with love, when you're doing your spiritual practices, if you're doing all these things, how can you not believe that the universe is not going to help you? Of course it's going to help you. Count on that. When you're taking action and you're following all the right principles, the universe is going to help you in subtle ways. This is not a left-brained, rational approach to living life. This is a right-brained, heart-centered, intuitive approach to navigating life. This is the proper way to navigate life. Honing your intuition. Trusting in your intuition. Learning to follow your heart. Connecting with your higher self. Really listening to your higher self. As opposed to listening to your lower self, which is full of fears and limiting beliefs and negativity and criticism and destructive ideas. Your higher self is that part of you that is connecting with the love. That's what's driving you. What your higher self wants is love. What your higher self wants is a deeper connection with reality. What your higher self wants is a more authentic experience of life. Unobscured by petty survival concerns and fears and various kinds of niggly obstacles. That higher self needs to be fed with action. Lack of action and complacency has led to your higher self being atrophied over years. But you can reestablish that connection with the higher self by pursuing love as much as you can in the face of fear, taking action, and doing all those other things that I talked about. And then your higher self will flourish. And then your higher self will feed you ideas, visions, inspiration. It'll help you to stay motivated in those difficult times. And that's the last point I should tell you, is that it will be difficult at times. It will be lonely at times where nobody is supporting you. And in those times, just console yourself. Reassure yourself that you're on the right path. This is how to live life. Life is not supposed to be easy. Sometimes it's going to be very, very difficult. And you keep taking action. You don't take your eye off the ball. You don't let yourself get distracted. You double down in those difficult times. And you sit through the solitude. And you have an unwavering faith that you're going to find solutions to all the obstacles. Faith is a huge component here, but I'm not talking about a blind religious faith in some sort of ideology. What I'm talking about is a deep trust in this whole process of living your life according to this principle of love, basically. That's what religious faith ultimately is about. It's not about faith in some sort of man in the sky who's going to save you, or any religious dogma. It's faith in the timeless principles that mankind has discovered over the centuries of how to live the good life. And if you want to build some confidence in these principles, go study. Go study the world religions, the mystical traditions. Go talk to the greatest sages and mystics who have ever lived. Ask them the top principles by which to orient your life. If you don't believe me, if you think that I might be misleading you, then go compare what I say to what others, other great, wise people have discovered, what has been written, what philosophers have talked about for millennia, and cross-reference all of those, and then derive some basic principles. And then whatever principles you derive, start following those, and then you'll see that you start feeling good about how you're living your life. All right, that's it. I'm done here. Please click that like button for me and come check out Actualized.org. That is my website. On Actualized.org, you will find various resources that will help you. My book list will help you to study many of the principles. Really, if you want all the key principles for living a great life, just read all the books on my book list, and you'll basically stumble upon all of them there. So that's a great way to go about it. Also, if you resonated with this topic, then you're going to love my Life Purpose course. My Life Purpose course is basically this topic, but in a much more practical way, over 25 hours, guiding you step by step for how to take what we talked about here and actually start to implement it and actualize it in your life. So make sure you don't miss that resource. It's a very powerful resource. You can also check out my blog. You can check out the forum, the Actualized forum. If you'd like, you can support me at patreon.com/actualized, and you can also check out my second channel called Actualized Clips. Those of you on the forum, I'll say this to end with, that I see who are just mentally masturbating endlessly, talking about this stuff but aren't taking action, I'm going to start banning you people. Because honestly, I'm getting sick of listening to years of endless masturbation over and over again of people just talking about stuff but not actually doing anything. When you're doing that, you're making a mockery of this work. This work is philosophy, but this is real philosophy. When you're doing real philosophy, it's not just about ideas. Real philosophy is about ideas, but then using those ideas to transform your life. And that requires taking action. So go do that.